If you need unlimited domination, clutch time, or anything else grinded, make sure you hit up Rose NBA on Twitter for quick, safe, and reliable grinding services. Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the best point guards in NBA 2K23 MyTEAM here on a tier list. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 8,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day. I really appreciate your support if you haven't already, if you do subscribe. One thing I do want to mention, I'm not totally sure what day y'all are seeing this video on. It might be Thursday, it might be Friday. If it is Friday, this video is not taking into account for any new content that comes out because I'm pre-recording this video in addition to the next two tier list videos you'll see over the next couple of days, shooting guards and small forwards, because I'm going to Las Vegas this weekend. So any new content, any new players that are added will not be included in these tier lists. But with that being said, if there is any new content that would affect these tier lists, I will leave a comment at the top of the comments so that y'all can see where I would rank those players in this tier list, just for context. So hopefully that helps. But also, I'd love to know what point guards you're currently using in your team. So leave a comment and let me know which PGs you're using right now and who your favorite point guards are in my team. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Let's start off with the first player on this list, which is going to be Dyson Daniels. I'm not going to use 2KDB for all these players, but I am going to use it for some. I'm going to try to knock these videos out relatively quickly so they're not too long. But Dyson, he's got decent speed. He's just not a great shooter. Doesn't really have very many shooting badges. Very good defender, decent playmaker, but no quick first step is a badge that hurts to be missing, I guess. I love his size at 6'6", the PG position, and he's got a good release. He's got normal fade. He's even got good sigs, but the low three ball hurts him. The fact that he's he's a good defender, which is super nice, but he doesn't have quick first step, which is an absolutely massive badge for a point guard. He's a very solid card for sure, but he's just missing too many crucial badges and a little bit too low on the three ball as well to be a top tier point guard at this point. Jaden Ivey, not one of the better PGs on this list. He's not a great defender. He's missing a lot of badges. Release is not elite. Not a particularly good card. Definitely a D tier guy. Now, Alex Caruso, I think y'all may disagree with me on this one, but I'm putting him A tier. One of the best defensive PGs in the game. He's 6'4". He's got a smooth release, good slasher, solid sigs, very, very versatile card. But the key with this card is really that defensive side of the ball, and he is absolutely exceptional on that end of the court. And I really do think he deserves an A tier spot. I think he's a top 10 PG-ish in the game, somewhere near that top 10 anyway. If he's not truly top 10, he's right there at the top. You're going to see this card used in competitive because of how good he is defensively. It's a crucial feature for a PG to have, and Alex Caruso has that at a truly elite level. Now, Anthony Simons, good card. He's just missing. He as an amethyst, he doesn't have the elite badges that you would like to see on a PG. He has good size. He's 6'3". He's got a few good badges. Off limitless takeoff's really good. He's an amazing slasher, decent shooter with an okay release. He's got decent movement, decent playmaking badges as well, but no handles for days. Missing a lot of crucial defensive badges. Defensive stats also aren't amazing. He's an amethyst. You can't expect an amethyst to be too great, but as far as amethysts go, I do think Anthony Simons is one of the better ones in the game, and he does deserve a spot on this list somewhere, and maybe even higher than D tier. Actually, for now, we're going to put him C tier. We may wind up having to move him back down to the D tier, but I think he's better than a few of these PGs, so I'll actually move him up to the C tier for now. Baron Davis is okay. His release isn't very good. He doesn't move very well. He doesn't have elite size. He's a good slasher, but he's not an amazing defender. He's a very, very mediocre card at this point, and I do think he is D tier. Cade, I do believe, is S tier. Cade is 6'6". He's a pretty versatile defender, a good all-around defender, shoots the ball well, solid movement, amazing standing dunker. I know his standing dunk rating is low. It's like a 50, but this man standing dunks everything when you put the Rise Up badge on him. He is one of the best PGs in the game, super versatile. He's like Dyson Daniels, except much better pretty much everywhere, all the way around. Definitely one of the best PGs in the game still, and I think Cade 100% deserves an S tier spot. Now, gonna put CP3 in C tier simply because he's only 6 foot and he can't dunk the ball. Great defender, really good movement, solid jumper, really good shooting badges, obviously great badges all the way around. Just can't dunk the ball, and he's super short at 6 foot. And dunking and slashing is incredibly crucial at this point in the game, just with the way the meta is this year, as well as the fact that he's only 6 foot. It really is not going to help him defensively to defend mashing and things like that. So while I think CP3 is an okay card, I just can't put him higher than the C tier. I'm actually going to put Damian Lillard in the D tier as well. Probably, I really think he's Baron Davis, very similar to Baron. Release, I'd say, is a little better, but he's a horrendous defender, like one of the worst defenders on this list. And I don't think his release is incredible. His movement's not incredible. In fact, his movement's pretty bad. His dribble style is very, very poor. So the combination of very poor defense and pretty mediocre movement really hurts him a lot, I feel like, and puts him relatively low on this list at the D tier. I'm going to put DeJounte Murray B tier. I think he's another elite defensive PG, not as good on the interior as an Alex Caruso, and that hurts Excuse me, that hurts him a little bit, and his jumper looks weird, but it is smooth and easy to green. I do still think his size and his defense is so valuable at the point guard position. Very similar to Caruso. He's just not as elite of a defender as Caruso, and I do think Caruso is the better overall card, so I don't think DeJounte can be put up in the A tier. Now, Dennis Smith Jr. is probably also going to slot in at the C or D tier. Another Amethyst PG. I mean, he is 6'2", which is not amazing size, but not horrible. He's got great speed, off-limitless takeoff, elite slasher, pretty good shooter, decent release, good playmaker, no handles for days, no defensive badges. Defensive stats are really mediocre. I really think he's very similar to Anthony Simons in a lot of ways. They do a lot of things very, very similarly. And I think they're both pretty okay, but not amazing cards at the PG position. But I think C tier is probably fair for those guys. I think I'm going to put D Rose in the A tier. I may even wind up moving him. Nah, I'll probably leave him in the A tier. I think he probably deserves an A tier spot still. I mean, he's borderline B tier though. There may be a chance I do wind up moving him down depending how this list progresses. But a very amazing slasher. Obviously, he's got a pretty good release, moves pretty well, just doesn't have elite size, doesn't play elite defense. I feel like he's not that next level good at this point in the game. Was amazing at the beginning of the game, but at this point, he's just not truly elite. And while he's very good, I still think he's a borderline A tier type guy. I just don't think he's quite that good anymore. Now, Donovan Mitchell is also going to go in the A tier. I think Donovan is a little bit better than D Rose. He's another very good slasher with good badges, but he's a better defender. I like his jumper a lot as well. I just think he gives you a little bit more versatility, especially defensively with his great wingspan and his better defensive stats. I think he plays better defense, and I think that's the main thing that separates him from a guy like D Rose, which is why I've put him a little bit higher in A tier. And I do think he's a very solid card. Dwayne Wade. I'm putting D-Wade B tier. His dunk animations aren't great. His release is slow. He's a very good defender, and he's a solid slasher, but his dunk animations are very mediocre, and his release is really one of the slower releases on this list, and that hurts the card. I definitely think he's a very good card. I just don't know if he's a top 10 or an A tier type of guy on this list. He might wind up being moved back up to the A tier. I'll say that. Honestly, looking at this list, I'm going to move him up to A tier for now, and we'll see where he ends up at the end of the video. But GP is going to go S tier, best defensive PG in the game. It's not particularly close. He's glitch shooting as well with a pretty good release. It looks weird, but it's solid. He's got the normal leaner. He's an acceptable slasher. Doesn't move incredibly well, but moves solidly. He's basically Alex Caruso, but better, is what I'd say. This is Gary Payton is one of the best PGs in the game. Another guy you're going to see in a lot of competitive play, and definitely deserves an S tier spot. Gilbert Arenas is A tier in my opinion. Does not have an elite release, but it is a good release for sure. I do still think he's one of the top PGs in the game. I'm not sure he's top 5, though I find it hard to put him in the S tier, to be completely honest. Although it's close. I think you could make an argument that he is S tier. Now, there's a chance. We'll see. I don't know. He might be the 5th best guy. My rankings kind of change on a day-to-day basis based on using cards and seeing them used in the way the game progresses, meta progresses, things like that. And I do think Gilbert's a really good card. I just struggle to put him higher than A tier for me personally. Jalen Brunson is one of the most fun offensive cards to use in the game. Really fast release, good sigs, normal fade, really good shooting badges, even decent defensive badges. He's just undersized at only 6'1". Can dunk, but he doesn't dunk consistently. Only a 50 driving dunk, which is kind of annoying. I still think he's good enough to put in the C tier, though, and I still think he's a very, very solid card. James Harden is going to go B tier. Harden would be higher on this list if he had a good dribble style, but his dribble style is horrendous. That being said, he has great size at 6'5". He has an amazing jumper, and he's not a great defender, but his size at 6'5" does help him out on the defensive end of the court. I just wish he had a better dribble style, because if he did, he'd be one of the best PGs in the game. But for me, I just don't think he's top 10. I'm putting him in the B tier. Ja Morant, I am still going to slot in at the S tier just because of how truly exceptional of a slasher he is. One of the best slashers in the game, bar none, and slashing is so important in the game. Also has his release on quick, which is huge. He's not an amazing defender, but he does have Silver Anchor, which is a really good badge for PG, especially defensively, and I think he can compete on the defensive end, and he's an amazing offensive PG. Probably going to be number 5 out of the 5 guys I do put in S tier, but I still think Ja's a very good card, and I am going to wind up putting him in S tier. Jason Kidd's going to go B tier. Great defender, normal fade, doesn't move incredibly well, releases okay, doesn't dunk super consistently. He's very solid. I just don't think he's to the level of a guy like Alex Caruso. Would say he's closer to the level of a DeJounte Murray and does deserve a B tier spot. Now, my personal favorite PG in the game is John Wall. I think he's an easy S tier. I do think he's the best PG in the game. An elite slasher, a guy with a great player build, already at 6'4", plays really good defense, super versatile, fast release. It's also on quick as well. I just think he's the total package at the PG position right now. Best point guard in the game, in my opinion, and definitely an S tier guy. Now, Kemba Walker is Chris Paul, except without all the great badges. Also has a good release. Also has normal fade. played, but not a good defender, whereas CP3 is a good defender. I mean, I say that he's glitch defense, so I mean, he statistically and badge-wise is not a bad defender, but he's also very undersized like CP3. I wouldn't say he's quite as good on the badges as CP3. He's not a completely horrible defender, but he's also very undersized, can't dunk the ball. Not as good as CP3, and I do think he's a D-tier guy. Kevin Johnson's going to go low B-tier for me. Great slasher, acceptable defender, nice and fast, pretty good release. Solid card, but not next level amazing. B-tier is pretty fair for him. Kyle Lowry is honestly probably going to... Kyle Lowry probably goes C-tier. I'd say he's probably better than these PGs that are in B-tier, or that are in D-tier, right? I mean, it's tough, to be completely honest. He's 6 foot, which is so small. 40 driving dunk is so low. He's a very solid perimeter defender, though, and he's got a little tiny bit of interior, I guess, 70 interior. Good playmaking badges, good shooting badges, pretty good SIGs as well. I mean, not great SIGs, but not horrible. No, I got to put him D-tier, man. I just got to. There's going to be a lot of D-tier guys at the PG position. He just doesn't do enough. He's not on the level of a CP3 in terms of non-slashing PGs who are short, so got to go D-tier. Kyrie, not a great release, horrendous defender. It's just, I can't dunk. Like, Kyrie's not good in this game. D tier for him. Nate Archibald's also going to go D tier. Another very, very short PG who just doesn't do a ton of things very well on the court. He's an acceptable shooter. He's got great speed, but he can't dunk the ball, and he's a very, very poor defender. Even with the gold anchor badge, I mean, 30 interior, 40 block on a guy who's 6'1" is just not going to get the job done, even with that anchor badge. So D tier for Nate Archibald as well. Pistol Pete probably does slot in the B tier. Not an elite defender, but he is 6'5" with an amazing or very solid release, the ability to shoot at a super high level and dunk somewhat decently. I mean, semi-decently, like on level guys like Jason Kidd and Jalen Brunson, where they'll dunk when they're open, but aren't going to dunk crazy consistently. But I do think he's good enough to slot into the B tier. And then the final S tier guy is going to be Russell Westbrook. He's got a great, very solid player, but he's an incredible slasher. Probably the best slasher in the game at the PG position, in my opinion, in terms of consistently triggering dunks. Solid release as well, solid all-around defender. And obviously the slashing is really that primary thing that makes Russ incredible. So S tier guy for me for sure. And then finally, we have Steph Curry, who is going to slot in. We're going to slot Steph in at the end of the B tier, I think. And now I lied. We're going to put Steph in the C tier. He's not an amazing slasher. He's got a really good release, and he's got good SIGs, but he's not a very good defender either. And he does have a small player build with a short wingspan. So while I do think he was a great, great card when he came out and is still somewhat solid, he's just not elite at this point. And I think C tier is probably the fairest spot to put him. So that is going to do it for my point guard tier list. This is what I have. Let me know what you think of my list down in the comment section down below, who you'd maybe ranked higher, lower, or that I left off the list entirely that you would like to know where I would put them on the PG tier list. So hopefully y'all did enjoy, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.